What up guys, we're going to be talking about blessings, but one in particular that really stood out to me from my testing. I'm excited to show you. Let's dive straight into it. What up guys, it is MurderInc here, back on the test server. We are talking about not the Altar of Souls. I know that's been a hot topic. We are going to instead, and you're probably going to notice what that favorite is. It is going to be Soul Reap, but we are talking about the divinities, the blessings, however you guys want to categorize it by name here. And I made a video on this. I said what we know so far. I went over them. Some of these are pretty good. You're all going to see them in game here. Some of them are pretty straightforward. There's not much to test. I really don't want to waste too much time in this video talking about every single one. It's boring. It's just me reading skills. You guys can absolutely do that on your own when it does come into live. I know Raid's released, I think, on their Facebook page or something like that, a description of all of these. So you pretty much know what you're looking for, but there are some special interactions. Now, things like Lightning Cage, let me just think off the top of my head. Temporal Chains is, it's okay. Then we have Bone Armor, that's going to be a popular one for sure. Cruelty, when you hit a target, it reduces the defense. That can help you out in like Hydra, because all you have to do is hit it once and you'll see a text that says defense reduced, and it happens, 5 times? Yeah, it can happen up to 5 times if it is 6 awakened, and this can be applied to epics, so that is kind of cool. But the one that really stood out to me, that I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people are going to take, is going to be Soul Reap. So what does this do? Let's kind of just go over this here. When this champion hits an enemy target and decreases their HP to a certain threshold, a Reaper will appear. Really cool, by the way, and will deal extra damage equal to the target's remaining HP. For AoE attacks, each target that has their HP reduced to this threshold in the attack will be visited by the Reaper. So it's not just a single target thing. If you have an AoE ability and multiple targets, Hydra for example, are low, it's going to proc on all of them. The Reaper will ignore defense as well as reduction skills, effects, and buffs. So right out the gate there, ignoring defense, you can think of all the bosses that have very high defense. And just to kind of go over this, I'm pretty sure it scales with max HP. And then you get a extra bonus at the bottom here. If it's 6-star awakened, has a 100% chance of placing True Fear debuff for 1 turn if the target survives. Now, where I'm more excited to use this, it doesn't really apply, but for an arena scenario, if you think to yourself how many times you've almost killed a champion, Soul Reap is going to finish them instantly. So what I want to do is I want to head to the new dungeon, because we can, right? So let's just head to it. It's Red Affinity here. All right, so we're gonna head into the Iron Twins Fortress, whatever the heck it's called, and we're gonna try to get to low HP so I can show you this Soul Reap proc. We do have Criskin here, a little bit different than the teams that I've normally been using that I did showcase with this boss in particular, but the main goal here is to show you Arbiter, who does have the affinity that I'm talking about, and how strong it really can be. It's really cool to see when it happens. I love the animation for it. There's just so much going on for this, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work its way into most teams if you do have a certain divinity that you can put on a champion here, because it's just so good everywhere, whether it's Doom Tower progression, any dungeon progression, campaign, if you're lucky enough to get, of course, divinity while going to the campaign. It just adds so much, and it looks really cool. I was surprised at how cool they made the animation. They didn't have to add one at all. They could have made it really boring in the end, so I'm really glad they didn't here. So as we are taking off some chunks, and I just realized again, and I should have already realized this, I don't have Battle cleansing the defense down, so I'm going to be taking quite a bit of damage here. We do have 3 turns on this defense down buff on our team, which can make maybe us get hit pretty hard. We do have attack down on the boss, so I haven't really used Krisk in a while in this boss, so this will be interesting to see for sure here. Okay, so we are getting low. I could still wipe for sure, because the lower stages are the worrisome ones, and if I land a decreased speed, it could be bad. So let's see here. Here's this hard hitting. Krisk goes down for sure. Okay. Let's see if we proc it. The next few hits from Arbiter should be the ones, so I'm going to put it on 1 speed here for us to see the Soul Reap. I think the next Arbiter hit is going to proc it. So we have it on 1 time speed. I think his health should be low enough. There it is. Okay, so 490,000 damage. Just think about that for a second. 490,000 damage from a divinity. Look at this. Arbiter. So Arbiter has no masteries, War Master, none of that. CV does have War Master. Kymar, again, a champion that doesn't have War Master, but's hitting the boss more frequently. I mean, 490k to a champion that's doing nothing in this team, or someone like an Arbiter, is just insane if you think about it. Just think about it for 1 second. So now apply this to Dragon runs, Fire Knight teams. This can change so much. This, I mean, the animation isn't the fastest thing, so I don't think this is going to be any speed teams. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that, but for the most part, insta-procking poisons, all of that good stuff with the Fire Knight teams, that's probably going to stay the same as far as what the meta is for Soul Reap specifically, but this is such a powerful divinity to be adding for PvE content and PvP. I mean, I can show you PvP. The problem is people aren't stacking defense in PvP, so unless you're literally finishing a target off, I don't think it's going to be as useful overall. So I do have it on my Rotos as well here, and it's probably going to be hard to find a team because Rotos is kind of one-shotting champions anyways. So we're going to go ahead and start. We'll just go ahead into Cold Brew here. And okay, turn meter boost. Let's speed ourselves up here. Let's go for the strip. We got the sleep. And we procced the reaction gear, so we're going to one-shot, I think, anybody unless reaction procs. Maybe Warlord has reaction pieces. We can hope for it. It's just going to be a one-shot anyways. I think I have to use the A1 ability for a chance. Okay, so there you go. 10,800 damage. I'm not sure if this does overkill. I don't know if they had 10,800 health left, and that's what we saw there, but this is going to be huge. Probably not so much for a champion like Rotos, because for the most part, he's just one-shotting everybody anyways. So it's kind of a non-factor in the end here. We're going to see as he gets his extra turns here, 132k. No one's surviving this Rotos for sure. But if you have room for a champion, whether it's someone like a Sifi, imagine Sifi using her A1 on a low target and that being the kill condition. Pretty crazy. So that's what I'm talking about. I think this is such a strong divinity for this game. I think it's going to be one of the most, if not the most, popular divinity across all content, just because of how well it scales. For PvE, it wouldn't be as good if it didn't ignore all defense. Since it does, it is doing an insane amount of damage in dungeons, right? Like I already said, we can go ahead and kind of, this is going to take a while to get there. I don't think I have any teams with Arbiter and Rotos in it. I guess I don't really want to use a team like that here. So let's take a typical team, swap out our Kymar, put in Rotos here. I think we're going to do too much damage. That's the only thing I'm really worried about, but I'm going to have some faith for now. Let's take out Battle as well. And let's just see if this works. And of course, I didn't initiate it onto the team here. So where's that team that I just made? Am I blind? Did I not? Okay, it's right here. Okay, so let's go ahead, see how this does on Dragon here, just so I can give you some gauges on content that isn't brand new, something you guys are familiar with. Stage 25 Dragon, probably one of the most common dungeons to ever get farmed in this entire game. So we're going to do that, go through the stages. I just realized I have no reset now, so I'm not going to be one-shotting this wave here. Hopefully I don't die. Arbiter shouldn't die. Maybe we get to see some Soul Reap procs on the waves here, although it's not looking too likely. We're not doing enough damage because Rotos is weak affinity, another thing I didn't consider here. Yeah, so we're taking some damage. We have a... So the team's dead. Is she going to proc Soul Reap on anybody? No, she's not. Not doing enough damage quite yet. Okay, so we get the team revive out. All things are good here. Weak hit, of course, that's not going to proc. Is this one going to proc Soul Reap? No, it's not. Okay, so we're just going to fly through this. The main thing I want to see is the dragon here. Not okay, so this definitely procs Soul Reap. We can see it. 40,000 damage. Just like that. Is the next one okay? So he wasn't quite low enough to proc there. and that's not gonna, okay, so this one, there you go. See, 14,000 damage, a nice finishing move here, and that's just the waves we're talking about. So this is going to give, I mean, granted you get this in progression, this is going to be so big for so many players here. I cannot stress that enough. I've been having so much fun with this divinity. It's definitely something that I plan on using on many of my champions, even if something else is discovered that's some OP divinity that I'm overlooking or other content creators are overlooking during the testing phase. This is just so much fun to play with. It adds something new to the game. It's kind of like an execute, and I really like execute mechanics for sure. And like I said, it just looks cool. And I know not everything in this game is going to be about looks here, but it is what it is. So hopefully we get to see the damage that we're going to proc against this dragon here. We do have a lot of poisoners, so the goal and the hope for this showcase, things always go wrong when I record, so you never really know what's going to happen, but hopefully we don't burn through too much health with the poisons here. And we will see when it gets down to, I believe the threshold is, I mean, someone's going to know for sure whether they data mine it. I don't think the skill description says exactly how much health. It's looking to be between 25 to 30% health remaining. It could be lower, so don't quote me on that. And if someone knows, feel free to comment on it below, but this is just such a cool blessing. I've had so much fun testing it, and let's see what it does when we get there on the Dragon Stage 25. Alright, so we are getting very close to the lower thresholds of health, and kind of like I was worried about, I'm really, okay, okay, so I can proc it off of a counterattack, 422,000 back to back. That's what I'm talking about. This is a dopamine rush. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have fun watching this happen, and it takes a lot in this game for me to have fun, or I mean even get that kind of feeling. I don't get it from pulling shards. I think that's pretty clear by now based on my account, but it's just so much fun. So Soul Reap, that's what this does. I think it's the most broken thing ever. I think it's going to help players tremendously if you can get those awakening levels on the champions. And just really quickly to look at the actual divinity itself one more time, just to see if there's any indicator as far as what the threshold is. Okay, so I was correct before. I thought it was 25-30. It's 20%. Starting at 1, it's going to be 4%. It's going to be pretty much a non-factor. A 3-star ascension for, I mean, are we calling ascensions? A 3 ascension divinity? That's kind of a mouthful, but so 3-star red, I'll call it, 5-star red, 6-star red. 6-star red's huge, 5-star red, 14% is still nothing to shy away from because bosses do have a lot of health in this game, as you probably know at the higher stages here. For champions, 20% is of course going to be a lot better overall, but this is so cool because as we just saw, even if you have 2 champions with this ability, there's no like universal cooldown like there is on some of the other blessings, where if it works on one champion, then it kind of cancels it out for the other ones. This can, if you have, imagine having 5 champions with this. I mean, if nothing would survive in the game doing as much damage as it does with 5%, but still, that would be cool to see. So this divinity is pumping out a ton of damage here, and it's not something that binds you simply to PvE as I showed you in the arena showcases, even though I only was able to use the awakening system on Rhodos, who's kind of a terrible showcase for the arena because he kind of just one-shots everything anyways here. If you don't one-shot the champion and the Reaper doesn't one-shot them, placing that True Fear with 100% chance, everyone knows how annoying True Fear is. That's going to be a game changer for the arena for sure if this does turn out to be something that players are going to use consistently here. Now, of course, I do want to talk about the sheep. The sheep's going to be broken, right? I mean, I guess I could swap to the sheep on the Arbiter here, even though I don't want to. I would rather keep Soul Reap, but it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and use the sheep here. There's really not much to explain about the sheep. You have a 20% chance of placing the sheep debuff here, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but I will go into the arena, and I mean, it's going to be hard fishing for a 20%, but it can be quite disruptive if you can get it off for sure. So let's go into this game, hit auto, and see what happens. Okay, so no sheep business going on just yet here. Let's see if down the line we get anything to happen. Okay, so nothing yet. Okay, Rhodos, you should be targeting Not that guy, the proper guy. So I guess I'm just gonna click on him. Target the ultimate Death Knight Rhodos. He counters you hard. Okay, any sheeps, it's 20% chance to happen. Still no sheeps. This is another one of those RNG things that if it procs, it's really, really good and you can disrupt the team a crazy amount for sure. If it doesn't procs, you're like, why did I take this blessing to begin with? They added RNG for a reason. If this was any higher than the current chance it has of proccing, it would just be way too strong, because imagine a core member of your arena team just getting taken out of the fight completely. Too broken. 20% chance is definitely respectable for sure here. Now we get some extra turns. All things are good. Still haven't procced the sheep. So maybe it's coming, or maybe not. Like I said, this is a game of RNG here, and I know there's going to be a lot of fishing, which is why I picked a team that is going to take quite some time. Well, it was until I just did that with Rhodos. Broken, by the way. Hopefully it doesn't happen here. The Arbiter. Okay, so we got no sheeps here. So bottom line is, sheep's going to be more of an additional RNG thing, mostly for endgame players. I don't want to count out every single player in the game, but I do think for endgame players specifically, it's going to be kind of like the saving grace for a lot of things here. We can just go ahead, hit auto here, and see if we can get a sheep proc really quickly as I'm going over this, but a lot of this comes down to disrupting platinum teams. And of course, this can be annoying for teams that are progressing through gold. If you're lucky enough to get a champion with this that can use this in silver, of course, it's going to help that as well. But overall, I do think that it's much more likely to impact the platinum arena, or like the 1% of players, more than anything in this game. And even still, 20% chance is kind of proving to be rather low in the end, which is why it's going to be good for a defensive setting over an offensive setting for sure. So unfortunately, wasn't able to test that there. I don't really want to sit in arena spamming this over and over just to see a sheep proc. You guys have probably already seen what it looks like in the official raid video, and I'm sure my editor can throw up a small clip of what it looks like to get polymorphed by this. Viability inside of dungeons, I don't think so. If you're progressing, you really want your progression to go smoothly. Maybe for the Doom Tower, since it doesn't cost energy, you can use this to your advantage. Fish for some RNG since it costs nothing if you fail the teams, but anything that costs energy, I would not recommend the polymorph. But I do think it's going to be quite significant as far as where it appears in the end game for sure, as far as defense teams on that higher level of platinum. Now, the only other affinity that really stuck out to me, and Soul Reap is kind of the bar right now, that's the bar for what's really strong here. I did test Brimstone here with the smite. It does damage. The problem is it's based on your champion, right? And it is 100% chance once it is a 6 red awakening for sure. But what it's going to do is it's going to inflict 25% of the champion's max HP of the affected champion. And unlike the Soul Reap, I know I keep going over this, it can be altered by things like buffs. So if there's ally protection, there's a shield, defense up, all of those things, the smite damage gets reduced by that as well. So that definitely takes quite a bit of value away from this as a blessing that you can't choose here. So I would keep that in mind when using something like this. Another thing to mention, intimidating presence is going to be pretty much required, and this could add some type of pay to win. I mean, it's going to add a pay to win aspect depending on, is it even pay to win? They said they're not going to sell it. Do we believe them? I don't know. We'll see with our own eyes. But strengthens your team's aura by 35%. How do you compete with that? This can be cool for sure, even though it's only legendary. If you have some of the not as strong legendary champions with speed auras, it now makes them viable for the arena if you're facing teams that don't have this blessing, because 35% additional speed if you're trying to go first, that's huge. So even if you're running one of the 19% auras compared to a 32% aura, your aura is getting empowered by 35%, but you're also weakening the enemy team's aura by 20%. So this is going to be mandatory eventually, and however many months it takes for people to start really getting blessings on all of these characters here. This is going to be the required one for the arena for sure. Now there is a weaker version, and I believe it may not be in this tree here. Decreases damage taken. I don't think it's dark. Commanding presence. Okay, strengthens your team's aura. You cannot use this in tandem with the light aura, and this straight up strengthens your team's aura by 35%. Also applies to epics though. I do like how they have this in middle category. At first when I saw this, I said, this is kind of a lack of imagination, since one of them is bound to legendaries, but the second one is available for epics as well. This gives people a chance to use champions like Gorgorob, Haikatoon, any other champion you can think of that is an epic and has a speed aura. If you get this, your advantage of going first in the arena to the moon, right? 35%, as we already discussed, is a massive increase to an aura. So you're able to get away with lower speeds going into fights. You can focus more on the damage aspect or the survivability of your team. Use this and everything's going to be just great. Now the other one that's definitely notable that should be talked about here, and I can just go ahead once again to Arbiter, we'll change the blessing and we'll throw this on her, is going to be Ward of the Fallen. I like this one. I think this is pretty cool here. We're going to show you how it works. It gives you a massive damage reduction, and it also gives you bonus damage that scales with your champion's attack here. Now, ideally, you would want to use this on a nuker that's kind of squishy. Unfortunately, I don't have a viable nuker that I could awaken on the test server. Rotos is not a good example because he's very tanky. He steals health. I mean, I shouldn't say steals. He gains health when he uses his A2 ability. Cannot be one shot, has to be two shot. He's just overall tanky, and I have him at +4 here. Arbiter, I'm not going to be doing much damage here, but I'll still be able to showcase what exactly this blessing does here. And the damage reduction is nothing to shy away from for sure. So let's go ahead and start this off. And we're going to be going first, most likely. Yeah, we're going... Okay, so unfortunately, I didn't think this one through. You know what? I'll just do that. We'll start this off here. Let's look at the bone armor. They're not going to target her because she's frozen, so that was kind of a bad call on my part. But she's going to be getting the effect. You can already see the icon right here. And of course, Soul Reap. Already trying to steal the show while I'm showing off something else here. But again, this probably wasn't the best team to showcase. Maybe if we get some counterattacks, it could be good. Let's go ahead and see. We did do a little bit of bonus damage here, and of course we're getting protected. I can go over this skill again. I know I didn't kind of read it to its potential before, but this is going to be more useful, as mentioned before, on a nuke champion. That would be the smart thing to use something like Ward of the Fallen on. So each bone armor stack decreases the damage the recipient receives from a single hit. Then it disappears. The champion can have a maximum of 3 bone armor stacks. Looking at the rank 6, starts each round with 3. Stacks inflict bonus damage when attacking. Bonus damage adds 1 stack of bone armor. So this is something, if you're fast enough, you can always keep this on here. And as we can see, bone armor stacks decrease damage received by 30%. That's a 30% DR. Now, is this going to be additive? I don't think so, because based on what I know about the damage reductions that are already in the game here, if this was an additive DR, you would be able to take 0 damage with certain team comps. And what I've noticed from everything they've added that does have a DR similar to this before, they've never let it get down to 0. If you remember, there was a nerf to Duchess, and if you want to know why, that's because some new champions and aspects of the game that they added, they figured out that you could take 0 damage. I do have a video of Clan Boss from a long time ago where I was taking 25 to 60 damage per Clan Boss AoE by stacking things like the armor set, Stalwart gear, Duchess, Norog, all of these DR champions together. And then they released another champion that had a DR similar to that was additive, which would have made teams like that take 0 damage. So the Duchess nerf was the missing link that they had to nerf. That's just kind of a side rant, that's besides the point. But that goes to me saying that I'm pretty sure this is multiplicative with other damage reductions. Could be wrong, so someone can definitely fact check me on that if they do data mine and figure out how this DR actually works. But one caveat to this bonus damage: it will not be applied from masteries, passive skills, reflected damage, poison, or HP burn debuffs. So this is a cool blessing. It has its uses. Unfortunately, I cannot test it and show it to you guys properly because I simply don't have the champions to be able to do that. So that's going to conclude this video on the blessings, mainly showing you guys Soul Reap and how completely busted I personally think it's going to be for the game overall in all aspects, in a really fun way. I don't think the balance is going to get thrown off too much because its main shining point for sure is going to be PvE content where you're not playing against other players. So that's going to conclude this video. Give me your thoughts and feedbacks. What do you think about Soul Reap? Are you as hyped about it as I am? As always, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.